there's been a lot of talk about this recently, especially in recent days. But Rock and Roller Coaster, do you think we're going to hear anything about a refurbishment, like an extended like downtime refurbishment, or just straight up it being closed and rethemed to something else? There's been talks about it being rethemed for forever, like literally like probably 10 years. People have been talking about, oh, it's going down any day now. They're gonna close it down. We're gonna get news any day now that they're closing it down. One of the big things they've been talking about for years has been it being a Monsters Inc. roller coaster with like the doors and stuff. Not the band. It's not they're not going from Aerosmith to the Doors. No, I'm talking about the Doors in
the Monsters,
you know.
Yeah.
So that's been a big rumor, but specifically I bring it up because last year there was a period of time where it was having a lot of technical issues, and it was up and down, completely shut down with no explanation for maybe, and then maybe it'll like come online for and open up for like an hour before the park closes or something like that, like just randomly, sporadically, just like it just was not reliable for about 2 months last year, and now just in the last week of December and the first week of January, it's been having those issues again, where it's just randomly like having, they haven't said what, but something's been going on with it where it shuts down and they have to evac and it's been closed all day. And then days where it just doesn't open at all. And then like there was one day, I believe December 31st, it was New Year's Eve, they opened it at like 9:30 at night. And it ran for a few hours and then they shut it down. But yeah, it's just been like very random the way that it's been just opening and closing lately. So what do you have any insights about I don't know, just like what are your thoughts on this whole scenario and issue of the ride being up and down, the fact that the Aerosmith contract has always been, this is another thing, the Aerosmith contract has always been expiring, and then they'll renew it and then it'll expire a few more years down the road. At what point do you think Disney just taps out and says maintenance is costing us enough, because it's an old ride, maintenance is costing us enough, we need to do a major refurb, we are tired of dealing with renewing the contracts with Aerosmith, it's time to just put something in there that we actually own. So when do you think that Disney's going to just pull the trigger on doing an extended refurb on this? And if they do you think that it's not going to just be a refurb, but do you think they'll ever actually retheme it? And do you think that's coming this year?
So I believe, oh my gosh, who is the lead singer of Aerosmith?
Steven Tyler.
Wasn't he just there this past year?
Oh, dude, he loves that park. Every time he goes to that park, he rides the ride. It goes all over social media.
So that's what I remember.
And he actually waits in line too.
Yes, yeah. And there was a really big story about it this past year, and that him visiting it, and it just, I believe Disney also publicized it.
Yeah.
And that, in my time following Disney news closely, that was the first time I'd ever seen that. And so it made me feel like they were really supportive of him and this whole, I guess, deal that they have. Of course, that could be me really reaching, but I feel like at the current moment, and even just giving everything you've just said earlier in this podcast, the fact that there's been so much money, time, resources allotted to just so many few projects. Yeah. I can't imagine anything happening the next year with this attraction. I understand there may or may not be technical issues, but at the same time, I feel like if they're still able to operate the ride, granted, there's always going to be repairs to be made and maintenance to be done on all of these attractions, but yes, you're right though, it is old. It's not a newer ride by any means, and that in itself is a reason to maybe give it a re-up, but I don't know. I feel like I can't imagine them just coming out of nowhere and announcing anything. Yeah. And also, I feel like they're just still recovering from all the money they've spent in Hollywood studios with with Galaxy's Edge. It was
and Toy Story
and Toy Story Land,
Mickey and Minnie's
Runaway Railway. I mean, they've spent an obscene amount of money in that park. I feel like I just feel like all the money is going to Epcot. I don't know. I could be crazy. But I don't. I feel like they're like, we're done with you, Hollywood Studios. Like, we've given you enough.
It's time to share the love.
It's time. Yeah. Like, I just feel like there's
parks.
no more money.
Yeah,
to go around.
So there's been writing on the wall for this coaster for a long time, and you said, like, of course rides are expensive. Obviously, Disney definitely has not forgotten to factor in the fact that roller coasters in particular are expensive to maintain, and now they're like, oh crap, we didn't expect this to be so expensive. No, like we just got done talking about like Typhoon Lagoon. Like, these people are smart business people. They know what they're doing. They have experience. They are in the theme park industry, and they're not new to it. They know.
They're seasoned.
Yeah, they're seasoned, and so they have definitely I'm not necessarily concerned about it being too much of a budgetary issue to keep it open. I know a lot of people are pointing to that, especially because it's been going down so much lately. So I don't think the budget is such a big thing. Another big reason why the writing has been on the wall for a while now is because I believe it was 2019, they closed down. So there were actually 2 rock and roller coasters. Obviously, the one in Orlando was the original, but then they opened up one in Disney Studios Paris, which is the Disneyland Paris counterpart park. So there was one over there, and I believe in 2019, it might have been 2018, but I think it was 2019, that ride shut down permanently. Like, they closed it. And people have been pointing to that, saying, see, they got rid of it over there. That means they're getting rid of it over here.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's true, like, especially with Universal. If they shut down one of the rides in, I'm trying to think of an example. If they close down another ride here, there's not really too much of an example because so much of the parks are different now. But like back in the day, it's like when Back to the Future closed, we knew that the Back to the Future over there was closing.
Yeah.
And so we just should assume that the Back to the Future here is going to close. Yeah. E.T. closed over in Japan. We can expect, E.T. closed in Hollywood, and then it closed in Japan, and...
it's still rocking here.
Well, it is still rocking here, but that's because Steven Spielberg got in the way and said, you will not touch this ride. But, like, when it closed in Hollywood, like, people were like, all right, expect the writing to be on the wall, and it's true. It happened in Japan. It closed. The list goes on and on. Terminator 2 3D, like, the ride closed in Hollywood. You can expect it to close. It closed in Singapore, I believe. I don't know if it was in Japan, but all of them ended up closing. It closed here. Like, the writing was on the wall. But I think it's a little different with this scenario because with Disney Studio Paris, that park is notoriously horrible. Like, it is known as, like, one of, if not the worst Disney park ever built. Like, even worse than opening day DCA, which says a lot. That park has been known as one of the worst. And in recent years, Disney's been pulling, what they've been doing with Hollywood Studios, right? Like, they've been just revamping everything. And so that ride is in the zone of where they're building their Avengers campus.
Yeah, Avengers. Yeah, because isn't actually, that's going to be an attraction that's not even in America. It's going to be something with...
Well, it's an Iron Man.
It's an Iron Man,
but it's an Iron Man retheme of the Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
So it's the same ride.
Yeah.
It's just rethemed to be Iron Man. So they actually didn't it's going to be the same track, same ride, just rethemed. Which is kind of like what they're suggesting will happen here with Monsters, Inc. Mm-hmm. Just, same ride, everything, just... But I think it's a little different over there because that park's struggling and they need something new. And Avengers Campus is going to be a great fit for that park because they just desperately need something to make it a full-day park. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a little different So I don't think that necessarily means that this ride is going to be closing anytime soon. Like you were saying with Aerosmith, like Steven Tyler was here. There's big press about it. It does seem like Disney and Aerosmith have great history working together. It seems like Aerosmith loves being a part of the park, and it seems like Disney's not in a rush to get him out. So I don't think that could be an issue. So contractually, they just re-upped. So I think they're good for another handful of years.
Yeah.
Another thing what you said was referring to what we were just talking about earlier. Disney's been spending so much money in other areas of the park that I don't think that they have the bandwidth really to be focusing on other areas. So I don't think that we'll see anything for that reason, but also that confirms that is they just refurbished the big guitar on front of Aerosmith. You know, like there was scaffolding and scrim on that thing for like 2 months.
Yeah.
They repainted the whole thing, refurbished it, repaired some damage to it and everything. So they've just spent some good money to make that ride look new, or like make it look good.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they would do that if the ride was being planned to close anytime soon.
Yeah.
Now, and also the one credible rumor that has been out there has been that they've thrown up the idea of Monsters Inc. And to me, like, although that sounds cool, and you know, there's that big exciting moment at the end of the movie where they're riding the doors, like that might make sense for a roller coaster, but it doesn't make sense for a roller coaster that launches you from 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds and has 3 inversions, and it's the only roller coaster in Walt Disney World that has inversions, period.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense? Like, does a kid's movie make sense for that kind of attraction? To me, it doesn't. Maybe some sort of roller coaster would be awesome for Monsters Inc., but that one, I don't think so.
Much,
yeah. So those are my thoughts on that. I don't think it's closing anytime soon, especially for a refurb, or I mean a retheme. A refurb, maybe. I think we might get news that it's going down for a refurb, but I don't think we're going to get any news about it going down for an extended refurb. No extended refurb, no retheme, I don't think, but maybe some news about it going down for a month. By the way, when I say extended, I'm talking about 3 months or more.
Yeah.
Like a big refurb. I don't think it's going down for an extended refurb.